But yeah, this conflict is not new, and there's a Texan communist named Russell Bentley, who a long time ago went over to the Donbass to fight for Russia against the Ukrainian neo-Nazis. What do you mean stealing Haas's lines? Haas's line was about Bernie, not Vosh. Can you stop misleading my train of thought and just, like, pay attention, class? Jesus Christ. There's this guy from Texas who's a communist who went over to Donbass to fight for Russia against the invading Ukrainians in the Donbass. So I have this video from 2018 showing you, he's walking through the battlegrounds, basically, to just show you, like, clear video evidence of the fact that this conflict is nothing new. So let's just watch this.
This was my second. And as you can see,
let me know if there's any audio issues as well, because, like, audio is crazy when you try to set up for streaming. So this is him.
after the big battle at the monastery, Oplat battalion moved into the monastery. Suvremenny came here. This was our position called Milnitsa. It means windmill. It was a communications hub. And we lived in the basement here.
He already has the Donetsk flag on his arm patch as well.
As you can see, the top floor got hit several times. The house across the street. And this was our old position. We had the stove here. This is a table for working on weapons and stuff. Had this couch, had another couch here. This was the kitchen where we cooked. So here's where we made our tea and stuff.
You're in Texas, and the Houston DSA have not said anything about the Ukraine situation. I'm surprised they're not, like, cheerleading the mainstream agenda. I don't know if the DSA itself has said anything either, but I don't pay attention to those people. They're kind of, like, politically irrelevant at this stage of things.
This is a hit from an 82 millimeter mortar. It was about noon, early February. This was our bedroom in here. We had like 6 beds, all pushed together. I was sleeping in this corner here. And I'd been up all night on guard duty, so I heard some mortars hitting real close. You know, I'm like, you know, and I was still a pretty new soldier at that time. I'm like, oh shit, what should I do? You know, should I get up and put on all my gear and grab my weapon and stuff? But I was tired. I just said, nah, I'm gonna sleep until they tell me to get up. And I rolled over, and I was laying right there with my head in the corner. And within 1 minute, the fucking bomb hit right there. And if I had gotten up, the first thing I'd have done before I'd put on anything is I'd have walked right out here in my underwear to walk right here, which is where we made our coffee. Because I don't do nothing till after coffee. And if I had, I'd have gotten a face full of, I would have been blown into pieces.
Oh yeah.
As it was, laying right there, my buddy Orion was laying on the other side, so both of our feet were together in the middle. Dude, there's two, I got some pictures of them, 2 chunks of shrapnel. They came through our sleeping bags but didn't hit either of us.
Wow.
When they're, you know, butcher knife size, you know, quarter pound chunks of steel.
Wow.
There's no way that if I'd have been standing here, I'd have lived.
Oh hell no. Yeah.
But so it's, you know, it's just, that's so many times in this war, you know, just a matter of a few seconds or a few inches. I mean, you see it smashed through this steel pipe right here.
Mm-hmm.
Which fortunately didn't have any sewage in it, but we ended up having to move out that night because at that point we knew that they had us completely dialed in and they were just going to keep bombing us. And I'll show you from the outside and you can see what a lucky shot it was. Well, you see, I mean, if it had been, you know, 1 meter lower, it just would have hit the dirt and it wouldn't have done anything. If it had been 1 meter higher,
Oh yeah.
it'd have hit the first floor and it wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah, well, look at that.
So, you know, it just
And then when you think about how a mortar is ordinarily it comes in pretty vertical,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This had to be kind of in a slanted
Yeah.
trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually is amazing how that happened. Wow.
You know, in war, it's like I said, it's just a matter of seconds or a matter of inches. Sometimes makes all the difference.
This guy is banned on YouTube, by the way. He's banned on YouTube now. So there's a whole like media astroturfing, like censorship campaign going on, where you have like the ASB, military news got banned from Twitter. This guy got taken off YouTube. All kinds of shit like that. Whoever is questioning the kind of narrative, they took RT off. All these European countries took Russia Today off. There's all this kind of like, whoever questions the narrative is literally like they will try to shut you down if you have any kind of prominence. It's very interesting, because why would they want to shut someone like him down? Well, because he has videos like this where he explains to you the broader historical context of the whole situation, which is inconvenient for their narrative of Russia as the aggressor. You see?
Oh, I'm gonna do this. I have to do this. You want to go ahead of me, Circuit? There's an opportunity to do this.
Insulation.
Mm-hmm. So this is like the mud room.
So this is the only one that I could find, because it's not on his channel.
A little china cabinet. Still some elegant overpriced.
And Nendroid linked his Twitter, so you gotta follow him. USA really got exposed and humiliated after this conflict started. Yes, exactly. Just like the Ron Paul Institute said. Yeah, I know it's not your. I didn't say it was your Twitter. Like, why would that even be relevant? Whatever. No, I said it was his Twitter. I'm from a European NATO country. I'm convinced that the people of the West have lost their mind. Yes. We have all lost our minds, folks. This is the insane asylum of the world.
All matches with a set.
Yeah.
They built the houses strong here. This thing took a couple of hits from mortar shells and it's still standing. A typical American house. Nothing left. Here's where one came for the roof, huh? The method they use for the ceiling is a lath and plaster type deal. And then it's like the primarily some kind of a cast block, a solid cast block with maybe expansion joints built in, or are these just? Yeah, this is some kind of a support here, vertical support.
At that time, the crop positions were about 800 meters, but a lot of times they'd creep up closer to about half that distance, about 400 meters, this wood line here. They'd start shooting at us. This is where we'd shoot back at them from.
That's what the fucking war are making with the houses of the civilian people. And that's a shit, you know. Make love, not war.
The natural gas pipelines.
So you can see clearly that Ukrainian forces have been bombing the shit out of civilian areas in this region for a long ass time. But obviously that's inconvenient for the people who want to uncritically accept the narrative of the mainstream media as factual. Because you have all these libs who think they speak in terms of facts, right? But really, what they consider to be fact is just what they're fed of information from sources that they uncritically trust simply because they're the mainstream ones. It's very simple. What I said earlier about ideology is actually more complicated. It's not just some kind of Kantian distinction between the way that we perceive the world and the world in itself. It is the fact that that is built into the world itself. It's more Hegelian like that. It's actually more like dialectical. So clearly, as I've already stated, this is really more of like some kind of defensive action. Because Russia has to ensure its security. Russian big space is good for that. Right? Because when you have somebody who's allied with your enemies, and it is actively being your enemy, right next to you, it's kind of like, okay, that has to be solved. And it's very interesting because you have people like certain like senators and people in government who are in favor of this no-fly zone. But as I've said before, a no-fly zone is an act of war. It's literally what it is. Because it's not like, oh, we're just going to like somehow make it so that no one flies here. They would shoot down Russian planes who would fly over the Ukrainian soil. And how many steps away removed is that from full-scale nuclear warfare? Not that many. And what does that mean? That basically means the whole world is fucked. Basically, that means the whole world is fucked. What do you mean by completely short-sighted and counterproductive? Also, how has this reduced Russia's power in the world? These are claims that the burden of proof is on you to substantiate. So, basically, what our position is, as Marxist-Leninists, is to oppose any U.S. involvement for this reason. And I understand, like, it's literally in our national interest to oppose any kind of involvement. Because otherwise, it's like a fast track to nukes. To being nuked ourselves.